seems that time is of the essence when it comes to sending missiles to Russia with love by the Ukrainians. As they say at the UFC, by way of the UK or by way of the US.
Mm.
A little bit more about this in a second. But first, we need to report that yesterday, on the 19th of November, Putin signed a nuclear doctrine which stipulates when Russia is allowed to use nuclear weapons against its enemies. He used to say that Russia could deploy nuclear arms if it was attacked by a nuclear threat from abroad. Now it says the threat could also be through conventional weapons and would follow Russia to do its nuclear arsenal. That was on the 19th.
Yeah.
Yesterday, Ukraine sent around 8 British supplied Storm Shadow rockets to the city of Kursk.
Yeah.
The oldest city in Russia. Apparently, the rockets were fired from Ukrainian jets.
Mm.
It's the second mainland Russian attack in as many days. And although Putin has said that he wants Trump to step in to discuss a peace deal before things get totally out of hand, his hands are getting a little tied. Russian politicians were getting a little restless. So I think Putin had to do something sooner rather than later. Yesterday, the US embassy was closed in Kiev, waiting bombardments from Russian planes. Putin's aides were calling for retaliation. They're getting really right. Vladimir Kamilov said that the Russian Satan II missiles are locked and loaded on Trafalgar Square. They're waiting for the word to deploy.
You're not new. Yeah. Okay.
For your information, a Satan II missile is a 208-ton intercontinental silo-launched missile. It travels at 15,880 miles per hour, believe it or not. And it hurts.
Well, yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Now, all that, like I said, was yesterday on the day that the UK government announced massive military cuts with helicopters, assault ships, a frigate,
Yeah.
and drones. They're all going to be axed from the inventory warehouse.
Well, they're going to be much use, are they?
Right. Well, they're not going to be used. Apparently, the hardware is so old, it costs more to maintain than it is worth.
Mm. Oh, yeah. Like that.
Being axed are 31 frontline helicopters, a pair of commando assault ships will both be decommissioned. Also, 46 Watchkeeper unmanned aerial vehicles are to go.
Okay.
A Royal Navy frigate and a couple of fast fleet tankers, which refuel aircraft carriers, are being axed. This on top of depleted numbers of active service members. I think around about 20%. We mentioned this some time ago in a podcast.
Yeah.
Once again, it seems like the deep state is determined to have a fallout. A full-out hot war against Russia, whilst Putin is walking a tightrope between answering the missile attacks and trying to hold out for Trump to get into office. Something that the globalists don't want. So this came in just this morning.
Yeah.
Right. Russia, and this is how it unfolded. Okay. Russia is suggesting it will launch its new frontier missiles 3 times larger than Iskander missiles normally used to Ukraine. They'll be sent from a base in Astrakhan near the Caspian Sea, according to local press. These missiles are non-nuclear and can reach anywhere in Europe, but are being aimed for the time being at targets within Ukraine.
Yeah.
This is when I woke up. when I woke up at 5 o'clock this morning.
Yeah. Okay.
So, since then,
Yeah.
some of these frontier missiles at 5 o'clock local time, but it took time for the news to come filter through to here.
Yeah.
Apparently, there were 4 or 5 of them were sent to a city called Dnipro in Ukraine to flatten a military hardware.
Yeah. Military target. Yeah.
Yeah, where they repaired the tanks and where they repaired,
Yeah. Workshops and yeah.
To me, I'm not sure if they were frontier missiles because there were sort of 5 or 6, and these missiles are so huge. Just to blow up one complex,
Yeah.
it seems a bit of an overkill on the Russian part. But however, we go by what we can read, and
Well, no, let's be honest about it. That we've not really been over furnished with accurate information as of yet. Direct information
no,
from
well,
Ukraine. Yeah.
I can only scrape up what I can
Yeah.
find.
Yeah. Not you. I mean, yeah, us in general, everyone in
Yeah,
general.
no, anybody get
Yeah.
find any information out.
Yeah.
In the UK, this is interesting,
Mhm.
right? In the UK, the government has still not asked Parliament to vote on whether the UK is at war, demanded by some MPs of the opposition.
Well, yeah.
Right, so the UK can't unilaterally fire because they have to declare war first.
Well, yeah.
And
Yeah.
that can only be done in Parliament.
Yeah. The big question: how much power does the government have, and how much Parliament? When do they have to go to Parliament? I think that's the debate at the moment, and it's quite frightening what's going on. Yes, I agree.
Oh, Starmer's been doing the Biden. He's been globetrotting. While all this is going on, he only came back to Parliament this morning. But this
Yeah.
is this is on the Thursday, people, just to let you know.
Yeah.
And just like in the US, the administration is acting unilaterally
Mm.
without the permission of the
Yeah.
British equivalent to Congress, because Congress hasn't decided
No.
if the Congress hasn't been consulted if Biden can give all this money away. He's trying to pardon $4 billion of debt relief for Ukraine.
Yeah.
Off his own. Well, to be quite honest, it isn't Biden. Right? Biden doesn't know where he is.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We saw this in the Amazon rainforest when he
went for a walkabout. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I hear the Amazon rainforest is a nice place to visit and look at, so I don't blame him for that. I think I probably would.
If you want to piss up a tree, there's no better place.
Yeah.
Just ask Biden.
Yeah. It's awful to see, yeah, in so many ways.
Right. So look,
Yeah.
basically, that's the information that we've got so far.
Yeah.
And hopefully we can sort of do these like every 2 days, just to get some meat on the bone.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we'll try and do a briefing, but if we have time, well, literally, not us have time, if there is time. I think you know where I'm going with that, Steve. Yeah. Now, yeah, I'm going to break it down a bit. I mean, you and I grew up in the 1980s. Well, I did anyway, where we were, yeah, you did effectively, where the threat was always going to be a nuclear holocaust or threat of a nuclear exchange with Russia. Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. These past week, there's been a major boxing match with a boxing celebrity from the 1980s on telly, and a threatened war with Russia. Yeah, I woke up in 1988 this week. I swear I did. Yeah, Mike Tyson. Yeah, for anyone wondering. Yeah, so yeah, Mike Tyson was there in a boxing match. Yeah, a threat with war with Russia. Yeah.
If you want a factoid,
Yeah.
how about this one? I was awake when I lived on my own in the UK.
Yeah.
I used to leave the radio on all night.
Yeah.
And always loved to listen to Radio Luxembourg at night.
Yeah.
and in the UK, I think it started around about 9 o'clock, 8 or 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
And I used to listen to Tony Prince
Mm.
on Radio Luxembourg.
Yeah.
And I left the radio on all night and slept.
Mm.
I lived in like a bed sit sort of thing.
Yeah, we've all been there.
A shared house.
Yeah.
Anyway, I woke up to hear the news that Russia had launched a nuclear attack on the US.
Mm.
And that a little later, the US said that it was a mistake or it was a glitch in the computer or something like that. They thought that Russia had launched this nuclear attack.
Yeah.
And they were ready to go.
Yeah.
Now that happening, I listened to it unfolding basically on Radio Luxembourg, I think it was.
Yeah.
So that was like a brief moment in history.
Shocking one. Yeah. I mean, there were glitches. Was it? I think it's the other way around, that the Russians thought that the Americans were attacking. And
Well,
it's only, yeah. And I think this Russian stood there, thought that's not right, and he should have escalated. I think he actually broke protocol and double checked or did something, and he was proved right. It just didn't add up in his own mind. I think he was disciplined for it. I can't remember the full story, but we should have been, something. But it was he probably prevented World War III then. That is the problem. We all know that throughout history, wars have been sparked by sometimes very, very mistakes, really. This, I must admit, this war does seem to be quite well planned coming. It's been it's almost like, it's not, they're not so much stumbled into it as running headlong into it. Whatever your feelings may be about a few things. With regards to Putin, now I understand with the US, the president has absolute command when the button gets pushed. He's got what they call it, the nuclear
theory.
Yeah, the what do they call it? The nuclear football or something. Yeah, the case. Yeah. He has absolute power over that. I believe the Russians have a slightly different checking system. Yeah.
We all have one.
Yeah, well, hopefully we'll have one. But is this a direct order from the president and it's all checked? Probably, yeah. They're probably rushed, like you say, people in Russia would probably try that. But yes, and then any, I think there's certain blocks where a general can spend seconds questioning it. Yeah. Obviously you got the codes, or supposedly the codes. None of us really know how it all works and everything else. To say that, I mean, I remember that in the 80s as nuclear, the coordinates of Trafalgar Square, which if you're going to blow something in the middle of London, that's it, you take out London first. Not really strategically, militarily, but that's where you'll destroy complete morale. Yeah. And you're probably wiping out, I don't know, depending on 2 million people on a busy day, before you've even done anything. But given there are Russian interests in London as well, I don't know. Yeah. But you would certainly take out the Houses of Parliament, everything else. I don't know what to make of it all. I mean, will Russia do something? I believe Russia, like you said, Russia certainly fired back something that could be quite horrendous. Again, it's a big firework, and it's going to take out. They're only going to still go for military targets. I don't think Russia have any great desire to totally destroy Ukraine. I know it sounds like an oxymoron, a very strange thing to say, but I think if they wanted Ukraine destroyed, Ukraine would have been destroyed by now.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. The other side of it all is we keep getting told Russia is a threat to the rest of Europe. If Russia can't take over Ukraine, supposedly, we're victory in Ukraine, and the Russians are still there. That's not a victory to me. Excuse me. A victory is when there's one side that has capitulated. That hasn't happened in 2 years. We're told it's all going to be over by first Christmas. Yeah. But if the Russians can't take over Ukraine, how are they going to be running across Europe? I wish somebody was explaining this to me. I don't think they've got the resources to do that. I believe possibly China would have the resources. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot more to do with being able to fight an effective war than having numbers and even equipment, logistics. Yes, as I say, yeah. Amateur generals or armchair generals talk about numbers. Real generals talk about logistics. Yeah.
Well, now that Russia has joined forces with North Korea, they've made an agreement where each one are going to cover each other's backs.
Yeah. Well,
I imagine that little Rocket Man, he'll turn around to Trump and say, "Well, I may have got it isn't the size of the rocket that matters; it's where you point it to."
Yeah. Well, okay, but yeah, I mean, I see the North Korean troops as cannon fodder. Sorry, but I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's all Putin will probably see them as. Ultimately, yeah, they just be put through the meat grinder. Period. But yeah. And yeah, they'll be called heroes in North Korea. Died heroic battle. Yeah. Yeah, okay, we're talking about people's lives, and I don't care where they come from. As soon as a certain incoming president said, I just want everybody to stop dying when their people stop dying. Now, Trump will probably have to be very careful. He can't intervene. He's still not the president yet, and that could be a trap that he could be classed as being, what would it be, treason or something else like that? Yeah, anymore. I mean, we're still
undermining the present administration.
Well, we could argue Starmer did that way he dealt with the EU before he became prime minister, but okay, strictly speaking, I don't think that should happen. It probably happens more than we know. It is worrying. Anyone that isn't worried isn't paying attention. You can't over worry about it. As we kept saying, we've been saying for the past 2 years on these podcasts, we've got the most inadequate, inept leaders I've ever known across Europe collectively. Yeah. I mean, even leading up to World War II, we had better leaders, commanders, in my opinion. Yeah. These people just don't have a clue between themselves. I mean,
I think it's probably, Mark, because their objectives are different. They're thinking more about self, whereas the old-fashioned leaders, pre-Second World War leaders, were thinking about country.
Yeah. I mean, Europe is still not a collective, single country. It can't get itself together. I mean, it's still ultimately an Eastern European issue. I'm not saying Ukraine. I'm not saying the Russians are right in what they're doing in Ukraine, but Putin has a very, very. He even bothered to explain it to a journalist, an American journalist, or some note. Yeah, whether or not you believed it or not, but it was laid out there. Yeah, here's my story. Take it or leave it. How many Americans or British politicians have actually done that? Yeah. I mean, yeah, I know I could rip what Putin said apart historically as well, but he put it out there, his perspective. Yeah. I mean, admittedly, Hitler did before World War II with Mein Kampf. Yeah. But ultimately, really, what I'm seeing here is a territorial dispute that could have probably been resolved pre-2014.
Oh yeah. Well, pre-2014, not too sure. Because it was only in 2014 when they decided that they wanted to, when the Colour Revolution.
You mean there was a regime change in Ukraine? Yeah, let's call it what it was.
Pro-European.
Yeah,
and that's when the east of Ukraine wanted to become independent, and the Kiev wouldn't allow it and started shooting.
Well, I don't know if I've said this before. But my sister, she heard of someone who lived in heard of someone who said this, but a person that lived in the west of Ukraine say what took Putin so long. Yeah, I mean, yeah, to say Ukraine is this united country, I don't know to what extent who supports whom. I mean, that's the problem with Ukraine. There's so many different factions as well, which is going to be interesting when it's all over, done and dusted one way or another. Who's going to do what? Who's going to want that power? We all know Zelensky's on the way out, if not now. I'd be surprised if Zelensky's still there at Christmas, to be quite honest, way or another. I don't know about you, Steve, but you know, the other side of
I think they should be having an election soon.
no, he stopped all that.
No, it's back on again.
Is it? Okay.
He did stop it some time ago, but I think you can't stop it for that amount of time. I think there is going to be election.
No, yeah,
and yeah, I don't think he's going to be the next president.
No. Yeah, I mean that's going to be the next upheaval and all that. And what happens if the wrong person wins? In regards to European, side of it all. Yeah, I mean it's worrying times. I mean, yeah, I'm separating this. You know, what could happen on the ground? Can Trump get involved? He can't even act as an envoy at the moment. Trump can't. He's not really saying a lot publicly, from what I can tell. I mean, you keep up more on the news than I do on this one.
Yeah, well, the thing is, the thing is that the terrain is changing every day. I mean, you know, this allowing American and British missiles to be fired into mainland Russia.
Yeah,
was almost according to the media. You know, it was done on a sixpence. You know, no, you can't. No, you can't. No, you can't. Yes, you can. You know, and that was only it's not even 4 days ago.
Yeah.
And so and Putin, like I said, he was trying to hold out. He wanted Trump to get this peace deal sorted.
Yeah. I mean,
and I'm sure that he had an inkling as what would the contents be in this peace deal.
Yeah.
You know,
of course he would. Yeah.
The Russian Secret Service always knows a little bit more than what I do.
Yes. They know, yeah, they know before the president and the prime minister of Great Britain know. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And so, but because of these 2 days of repeated assaults on mainland Russia, Putin, like I said, he had his hands tied. Well, everybody around him was waiting for a reaction, a retaliation, and he had no choice.
Well, he's the ultimate cold warrior. I think he'd rather wait. You'll find out sooner. Keep everyone on tension. Yeah, when they send the second salvo in, and that's provocative. Yeah, okay, you sent your first lot in, you've made the point. Second lot coming. I mean, yeah, with the Western media's look at the Ukrainians shooting down these rockets with these pea shooters. It's like what? Yeah. Yeah, tell me another one, please. I suppose anything's possible, but yeah, it's. I mean, these things are supersonic. These rockets coming in. I mean, yeah. I mean, I used to read things in magazines about these things. They're powerful stuff. Ultimately, there's things that go bang. It's scary. People die on the ground, which is what we mustn't lose sight of on both sides. Although now they're going to rockets, it's now more and more hitting civilians. Be it civilians work on military bases, yeah, and for every soldier that gets killed, there could be a widow, children, and everyone else. This is the thing that we're losing sight of. We've got to draw a halt to this one way or another. If it escalates anymore, well, it's probably good night world, quite honestly.
Well, I wouldn't say good night world. I'd say good night Vienna in Austria.
Yeah. Not
Right.
Vienna, yeah.
No, it'd be, major cities, and there would be a lot of fallout, of course.
Yeah.
Of radiation, of course, but everybody survived Chernobyl. So
No, yeah. I
you
mean,
know, so you
well,
know,
still
it's
whether
going to
it's
be
there.
pockets, more like pockets. So the UK, which isn't all that big,
Well,
um, possibly Germany, and possibly the US.
mm, well, yeah, they can get the US and electoral, but yeah, that side of it, yeah. Um, well,
As long
let's
as
hope
long
it.
as they keep it in the northern hemisphere, I don't mind.
Well, yeah. Well, let's hope it doesn't come to this. Let's hope that all leaders see a bit of common sense. Um, no, that's a big ask. Well, it might not necessarily be the leaders, you know. They're doing what they're being told to do by someone else, it would appear, and I don't know whom. Well, I don't think anyone's in the overall control. Um, yeah, I mean the call for regime change in Russia as well is a frightening one as well. I don't love Putin. Do I think that? Yeah, I don't. But he's probably the best. He's holding Russia together at the moment. If Russia decides to splinter, there will be people that will be a far worse problem with wanting to prove their mettle by going into Europe, by attacking Europe. Let's be honest, Putin is a cold, calculating operator. I mean, yeah, okay, maybe going to Kiev blew back on him a bit, but he is a cold operator, and he sits there. You don't know what he's going to do next. Yeah, he's waiting for Trump to come in. They had quite a good relationship, but yeah, it's now a case of wait and see, I'm afraid, people.